Hello, happy birthday to Be Live. Yay, yay, yay. I wish I had like special sound effects. Let's see if I can make some happen. Yes. Can you hear it? Well, today is Be Live's 7th birthday. And oops, sorry, crickets, you got to go. And I am so excited to have the one, the only Elle Connolly here today. She's joining me to talk about how you can get your coaching business on another level, because she has helped so many people, not only with having effective marketing copy, but also making sure you know how to reach that online community. But before we get into all of that, I want to make sure that you share this with your friends. You tell them to come on, let's jump on to this Be Live and learn more about how they too can increase their online business and get their business virtual, right? Is that what we're doing today, Elle? Ellie.
Certainly is. Yeah, no, Elle's good.
Okay, I'm like, wait, it's an E at the end. I want to make it longer. And we just had this whole conversation about it. So it's the thing about being live, you just got to roll with it, right?
That's right.
And for everyone that comments, you see this cute little, oops, there goes my fingers. You see this little cute jar over here by Miss Connolly over there that says get a winner. Every time you make a comment, you put yourself at a chance of winning a great prize that will be announced at the end of our stream. So make sure you stay tuned for the entire 20 to 30 minutes. We're trying to be considerate of your time, because also Elle is all the way in London. She's joining us from the other side. I want to make crown references, but I forget that it's I can't say that because it's but anywho. So tell us a little bit. What are you watching right now over in England?
Oh, we're watching the Beckham documentary. Is like the
that's
the hot documentary, huh?
Yeah. What did you think of it? Because I'm a big football fan. Well,
yeah,
let's even call it American football is different than European
soccer
football.
fan,
So soccer, football, we'll intertwine the words, but tell me, what did you think about what you learned from
well, I haven't finished it yet. I'm on episode 3, I think, so I'm a little bit behind the rest of the world. I think. But yeah, it's interesting because obviously I was kind of aware of everything was happening at the time, but maybe not so aware of his career as much as it was and their relationship. So it's interesting. It definitely is. Yeah.
It was I don't remember what episode they covered what, but I didn't remember the whole, like, the scandal of their relationship and so on. So like reliving it through the documentary, I was like, oh yeah, it was a big deal because they weren't married and this other stuff and all that other thing. Like nowadays it's like so commonplace, but back then it was very rare, especially for English royalty, which is what I feel like the Beckhams were back. Well, so are. So wonderful. We have some great friends that have joined us from all over. We have from Belgium, which makes me think of Legoland and antiques. So very random. So that's really cool. And we have some people. How did I do what, I wonder? You'll have to put it in the questions. I'm not sure exactly what that was in reference to. Literally, we got people tuning in from all across the globe, which I am very excited about, which I think kind of coincides with what we're going to talk about today, because that's the joy of being virtual with your business, is that you don't have to depend on just your zip code, your area code, your time zone for who your clients can be. So let's jump in a little bit. Sorry, I'm very thirsty, and my beautiful assistant just brought me a glass of water.
Oh, amazing.
Shout out to parents who have teenagers that can also be assistants. All right. So first things first, let's give a little bit about your background. So how did you get started in your coaching business and making it virtual?
Yeah, so I have always kind of worked across the marketing industry. So I started off in PR, did a bit of live events kind of thing, and then went in creative agencies. So I was always kind of more traditional kind of marketing. And then I kind of branched off to do my own business, which was copywriting. So that's kind of how I started, which was, well, more content writing. So writing blogs and social media posts and all the kind of content stuff. And then what I realized was my background's actually in psychology, and I think we kind of touched on this earlier. So I realized there was this thing called copywriting, which seemed to really combine this idea of kind of using human behavior and decision making and kind of what makes us do click a button or not click a button. So I kind of got more into the sales copywriting side. And then through that, just scaling up, really, I moved more into the kind of group coaching side of things. So actually teaching business owners and particularly teaching coaches how to write their own copy and how to write words that sell. And like you said, the kind of the fact that I could do it all remotely, I could do everything online, just opened up the whole world of possibilities. You can literally work with anyone in the world. You can speak to anyone in the world anytime, which can be good and bad, as we know, with time zones and things. But just the possibilities were just kind of endless with it. So it was kind of a skill that I had developed myself and kind of many years in marketing, and then kind of started to pass on through coaching, which I find is quite common with the coaches I speak to, in that they've either had kind of a life experience that's brought them to coach in the way they do, or they have kind of work experience or expertise in a certain area, which kind of leads them into that as well.
Right. And I have to say, with your accent, because I'm sure you hear this all the time, anytime you talk to someone American, I could literally just hear you speak about the phone book or anything. I just love hearing you speak. But I am sure that adds an extra appeal. But I'm curious, like, because you also branch your psychology base with coaching, with marketing, and there is so much of that intertwines. Do you think it's important for people to like to have that psychology like expertise with it as well, or at least study, I guess, marketing as well as psychology to really understand the intricacies of coaching or getting to those people, or is it not necessary?
I think when you start a coaching business, there's so much to think about, right? There's so much to kind of, I find a lot of coaches kind of, you start thinking you're going to spend your days coaching, and actually you spend half your week marketing and doing admin and all the kind of things. So I think it's scary or kind of maybe overwhelming to say, okay, you now need to add psychology to your list of expertise as well. However, I think when it comes to writing, particularly, there's a kind of misconception that it's kind of a dark art or a skill you were born with, or something that is kind of, I can write or I can't write. And that can be really, I suppose it can put a lot of stopper on coaches in order to be able to do their own marketing. So what I say on the psychology side is it's more just learning a little bit of the science behind it. And what I say is copywriting or writing for your business is not necessarily all art and creativity and, oh, it's this talent I either have or don't have. If you can learn some of the psychology behind it, which I call the kind of science, the formulas, the templates, the kind of persuasion principles, those kind of things, then it can just really help you feel more confident when you come to write. So it's kind of that balance of the science behind it, which kind of makes the whole thing a little bit less scary. You can kind of learn science, whereas a lot of the kind of, I suppose, wisdom is that you either can write or can't write, and that's not necessarily true when it comes to copywriting.
I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I did take because I have my own podcast, the E Spot with Camille, which everybody might have saw that I changed the branding really quickly. Another plug for Be Live, how easy it is to change your graphics really quickly if you realize you still have all your graphics from your own podcast show when you're hosting something for somebody else or for a different brand or a different show. You can easily change out the graphics. But one thing that stuck out to me about what you said was I because I have my own show and so on, I did take classes to learn more about what analytics and this, that, and the other, because my internet experience beforehand was MySpace, and a little bit of Facebook here and there. But with MySpace, it was almost like coding in a way, the way you had to customize everything. And so it made it easy for me to start doing my own website. But I think a lot of times with certain groups of people, if you're not very tech savvy, you're almost scared of, oh, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that, or maybe they're camera shy and different things of that nature. What have been some of the, I guess, the biggest hurdles that people have to kind of overcome to get over that shyness or the fear of using social media to help build their business?
Yeah, I do sometimes say that technology is amazing, and it can also be, in some ways it can be limiting for coaches and for any kind of online entrepreneur, because although in one way it opens you up to be able to do all these things yourself, you can use Canva and be your own designer, you can use, you know, like Wix or Squarespace and build your own website, all these things. And although that's amazing, it also is limiting, because you end up doing everything yourself, and you just get into that cycle of being like, well, I can do it myself, I'm going to obviously do it myself rather than outsource. And you end up spending your whole time, like Chris just said in the comments before, 80% marketing, doing admin, building your own website, writing your own copy, doing your own design, and in the end you kind of aren't doing what you actually make money from. So
Right.
although technology is amazing in one way, we can end up, you know, limiting ourselves in others. But I would say the biggest hurdle when it comes to kind of starting out and just getting over those things is just, I suppose, not getting too bogged down in trying to do all the things, particularly when it comes to marketing. Like, just from a kind of just starting out perspective, is choose something that you feel comfortable with. Some people really enjoy blogging and just writing those kind of articles, and in that respect, you know, maybe you're better going down the SEO route. So you're just blogging a lot, attracting people to your website that way, and that is your kind of number one marketing kind of strategy, let's say. Some people find video really easy. I personally do find video really easy, because it's just, you sit and talk, and then you can transcribe it, and you can use it in all different ways. If you're comfortable on video, maybe using YouTube is the best way to go. So I would say, when you're just starting out, in order to kind of get over that hurdle of like overwhelm, there's so much choice out there, there's so much I could be doing, what should I focus on?
Right.
I think pick something that you feel you can really kind of start with and feel more comfortable with, and then as you get more comfortable on that, then expand out and expand out and expand out. So, and it might even be more a platform. It might be that you really find LinkedIn is the place where a lot of your clients are, and you find it easier to use. So just, you know, go on LinkedIn. So I think from that, it's just keeping it a little bit, there's so much you can do, trying to just find that one thing that is going to move the needle the most without taking up all your time.
Yeah, that's a great point, because time is something you can't get more of. Money, everything else you can always create more of, but once you're out of time, you're out. So finding ways to really make sure you're using it the best way you can is really awesome. So with that same standpoint of like knowing when to outsource and when to maybe do it in-house, they just reminded me, speaking of in-house, don't forget, drop a comment. Although we've been getting a lot of comments, and don't worry, I will answer your questions. I'm just making sure that I run through the ones that a certain boss made sure that I said. You know, gotta get the originals in first, and then plus some of my own, because hey, once you got a coach online, might as well ask them, right? So when it comes to marketing, because I know from the film side of things, like the eSpot, the reason I call it the eSpot is it's the entertainment spot. It's my way of kind of bridging people to understand more about the behind the scenes of entertainment, the other positions other than the obvious on camera ones. And one thing that I learned was that a lot of films, like 50% of their budget goes into just marketing. And a lot of times you hear so many times with like smaller business companies, the first thing they don't want to spend money on is marketing or getting, and it's like, well, how will people find you if you're going to be the best kept secret? Good luck with that. You know, like word of mouth used to work, but that's only going to work within that small community of people that are talking, as opposed to online. It's endless possibilities, right? So what are some of the pitfalls with that as well? Like, what are some of the challenges you recommend for people who maybe are a little overwhelmed by the idea of where to start? Again, like just what platforms would you say are the most conducive, I guess, for coaching businesses?
For coaching business, it's a tricky one. It is tricky. I mean, they say the kind of general wisdom is to have 5 places where someone can find you. So that might be your website, it might be an email kind of situation list, you might send out emails, it might be LinkedIn, Instagram, and something else, or partnership, like collaborations, like kind of what we're doing now. So there are lots of different ways, but I personally think 5 is just quite overwhelming for someone who is just starting out. So I think I think one of the biggest pitfalls I see, and maybe I'm a little bit biased because I am a copywriter, but I do find that a lot of coaches, what they will do is try and get more. They're wanting to get more leads. They're wanting to get more potential clients. They're wanting to get more people kind of booking discovery calls, or however you kind of that conversion point is. And so they do more. So they throw more money, maybe at ads if you are going down that route, or you do more posting, or you do more, it's more. And actually what they're not looking at is the offer and the messaging that they are sending people to. And that's what I kind of call the marketing money pit, where you can just, it ends up just throwing all your time, your money, your sanity into more. But actually you're just sending people to a website that actually when they get there, it's not going to convert them anyway. They're not actually going to book that discovery call because the messaging isn't right. So what I always say to coaches is to kind of start at the point where you want people to convert, the point where you want someone to book the call, and work out from there. So just make sure that your website is really clean, easy to use, the messaging's right. You really kind of have shown the reader that you understand what's going on in their heart and their minds. Once you've got that right, okay, now how are you going to send people to that website? Are you going to use email? Okay, let's get that right and get those messaging right and kind of build on it. But just remembering that doing more is not necessarily the answer to getting more leads. And actually, sometimes you just have to stop, take a step back, and really look at your messaging and look at how your copy is written, and just making sure that you nail that first before you then go on to throwing all your time and money into more marketing.
Now, that's a great point, because just because you're using 50%, use it wisely. If you're throwing it at the wrong things, like pay for play, stuff like that, like it could end up being more of a hindrance. Because I know there at one point with Instagram was a big boom to buy followers. And I was like, I don't really need to do that, because those followers that are bought, it'll give me a greater number, but they're not going to translate to to podcast listeners possibly, or other stuff. Like, I want to attract people to my accounts that are genuinely going to listen or watch my shows, right? So speak a little bit about that, like some of the pitfalls that people can get into, or trends that they might feel like, oh, since I'm on TikTok, I have to do dances. But no, you don't. There's like a whole education side to TikTok where you're just doing these 5-minute quick little reels or something like that. Do you want to speak a little bit about that as well? Or what do you think of those kinds of ideas as well?
I think, again, it just comes down to capacity and enjoyment in a way as well. Like, you have to pick a channel and pick a way that you are not going to stress about and dread. I remember there was a time for about a year where I forced myself every first Tuesday of the month to schedule all my social media posts. And I say forced, but at the time I thought this was really good. This is what everyone was telling me to do. And I was kind of, okay, this is how you do it. This is how the pros get all their leads through Instagram, and I would just dread that Tuesday. I was just like, it's just every time it would come up, I'd be like, it can't be the first Tuesday of the month again. And eventually I was just like, why am I doing it this way? And now I actually post organically. I post what feels a message that feels right to me at the time. And yes, I might have some idea. I'll have ideas that I've written down, and I might kind of come back to them sometimes. But it just comes back to the idea of, and back to what I was saying about video as well. I spend a lot of time every week. I'll record a video on YouTube because I just enjoy that medium. And I think there's a lot to be said about just finding something that you don't hate doing.
Right.
And Mark, and like you with your podcast, like you wouldn't do it all the time if you didn't love it as a way to communicate with your audience. So there is a lot to be said about that, and I don't think people talk about that enough when they talk about marketing. It's what you should be doing. You should be here. You should be on TikTok. And maybe you love TikTok, so brilliant, go there. But you have to go where your audience is as well. Like, as a coach, if your audience is not on, if you're kind of, say you're targeting kind of midlife retirees, you're not necessarily going to go on TikTok potentially, but who's to say, sometimes, giving things a chance because you enjoy them can be a good route to go down.
Right. Nope. I love that. So before I start answering all the other questions, I'm going to ask this last question that was required from the company, Be Live, which is that it's their seventh anniversary. They've been around 7 years old. So they're a whole year, dog years, right? Just kidding. But and they're so cool and such a great company to work with that they're giving the gifts. So if you stay to the very end, you can look out and getting a mentorship with the one and hold on, let me make sure. Nope. Sorry. Yes, you get a one free live streaming session with mentor Grant Sanders. Huge deal because normally that's a huge price item. So enjoy the idea that you too can get all of the questions that aren't asked our answer today. Of course, you can reach out to Ellie on her website and I'll get your social media handles as well. But you can also possibly ask him if you win. So you get two for the price of one in a way, right? So make sure you're commenting because the more comments that enter into this tip jar, I just realized I'm still small. It's a lot going on right now. But if you keep adding to that tip jar, the greater chances of you getting picked because it's literally like a little lottery jar where it just picks it randomly. So the more you comment, the more chances of you winning. Keep that in mind. So let me go through and answer some of these questions. But while I'm looking for those questions, can you give us the top 3 tips you give for any new starting virtual coach?
Yeah. Okay. So my first one, which isn't anything new. You will hear it all the time, but it is just the idea of knowing who you're talking to and just having a really, really clear idea of who it is that you want to be coaching or who it is that you feel you can help best. And a lot of coaches will kind of say to me, oh, I don't just have one target audience, as we might call them, or buyer persona or whatever you kind of refer to them as. And that doesn't matter. It's okay to have different audiences, but it helps to just define them. Maybe you do a few different target audience profiles, but just really understand what goes on in their head, in their heart, in their kind of life. Just doing that to start with before you do anything else will just help everything seem a lot easier. So when you go to write anything, when you go to post anything, when you go to kind of do your sales calls or your discovery calls or anything, just having an idea of who that person is that you want to talk to is always gold. And I have lots of tips on how to do that audience research, but probably a conversation for another time. But like you said, if you kind of follow me on Instagram, I share lots of tips around how to do that voice of customer research to really get into the heart and mind of your audience. So that would definitely be my first tip. I think the other thing I always say to my coaches is, from a marketing point of view, don't get too hung up on social media and that kind of side of things, but also bearing in mind partnerships and collaborations, which is such a powerful marketing strategy, which I think lots of people kind of shy away from. So the idea of, going on podcasts, doing conversations like this, guest blogging, being a guest expert in different people's coaching programs and memberships and that kind of thing, like, it is so powerful because the audience is already there for you. It saves you having to go out and find the audience. You can actually kind of find an audience that is already they're ready made for you and go and speak to them, and it's such a powerful marketing strategy, which a lot of coaches overlook or maybe don't think about until year 3, 4, 5, and 6. And maybe if it's something that you can kind of focus on from the beginning, it can really kind of give you that leverage and that credibility in the industry. So that would be tip 2. And my third tip, which again, maybe I'm a bit biased, but just get your website right. Just getting that messaging, just knowing you've got that central place to send people to send clients to, that is right, that nails your packages, that has that offer right. Is really, really good. And once you've got the great thing about getting your website messaging right from the start is you can then use all that messaging in various places. You can use messaging from your website in your social media posts, in your profiles, in your pitch proposals, all the different places that you market yourself or write about your business. If you've got it all written on your website to start with, you can just pick bits out and use it. So it's a really good place to kind of, as a kind of baseline for all your copy.
No, that's great. And so I also have scrolling below us your website at 23wisewords.com.
That's
Is
right.
that the same name for your Instagram and everywhere else?
Yes.
The 23 Wise Words?
Yes,
Okay,
at
so I'm
23
going to put that
Wise Words.
in
And YouTube as well.
And and YouTube as well. Okay. So there's one question about, since you brought up about social media and so on. One of the questions was like, what if you have social media anxiety, like anxiety? For getting over social media phobia. That's what it was. And showing up more online. I've cut back a lot because I have a love-hate relationship with social media. I don't want to butcher your name, but this is from Rashid. Miss Rashid, I think.
Yes, same. I have a love-hate relationship with social media as well. I am not one of those people that shares their life on. Are you the same? Like,
yes, I don't want to share my whole life. Yeah. Well, first off, I'm scared of the consistency of it. Like, I can't. Like, I'm too ADHD to remember. Like, oh wait, on Mondays I post about my private life. On Tuesdays I post about my children. And plus, my personal life is my personal life. Like, when you go to work with someone, you don't know their entire life. Like, Facebook has made it seem like that should be normal, and it's not. So, you have that right. But I want to hear from you how you handle that.
Yeah, it can be really tricky. I like, like I said, I don't post personally barely at all. So it was never easy for me to be that person that jumps on Instagram and you know what they say? They say the easiest way to keep consistent on social media is to document rather than, so you document what you're doing. So today I might have done a post about this, and then tomorrow, oh, this is what I'm doing today. So that's the way to make sure that you've always got something to post, is to document your kind of journey rather than thinking about stuff. However, if that doesn't come naturally to you as someone who documents their life, it can be very, very tricky. I think the other part the part that really gets me about social media is the advice about going on other people's posts and commenting, that people you don't just purely to try and get their followers to. I just think that just goes against everything social media is about, just kind of picking people that have the right audience and saying, oh great, love your post, just for the sake of kind of, but that again is another advice you get. Look, if you don't enjoy social media, you don't have to use social media. It is the best way to reach a large number of people. There's no denying that, there really isn't, but it's not the only way. And I actually see a lot of coaches nowadays talking about how not to use social media. And I think I would, if you're not comfortable on socials and you don't want to go down the route, I would go down the kind of collaboration and partnership route that I mentioned before, and just kind of do a bit of research on different kind of, I suppose, not competitive businesses, but businesses that have the same audience as you. So say you, for example, as a copywriter, I know that a kind of designers or marketing consultants might have the same audience as me. So I might go looking for those kind of people that have audiences already and collaborate with them. So I'm not using social media in that respect, but I am getting in front of large audiences that I know would want what I sell. So honestly, it's probably the wrong advice, but if you hate social media, if you don't want to be on it and you don't enjoy it, it's not the only way to get clients. It really isn't.
No, I would agree with that. Like, go where you love to be, like, because the thing is, you're going to be doing this hopefully minimally 5 years, right? So if you don't like talking about something, I say that with my podcast people, like, don't use that. Don't start your podcast in something you don't want to talk.
Yeah.
Your script is in front of your buttons sometimes. So little technical glitches, but again, that's the amazing thing about Be Live. It's quick to fix. So you don't have to be a super tech genius, but even some of the questions that were out there was one question about, what about do you have to have a website? And that's when social media could be your website. But I also feel like it's important to stay consistent with it. So if you do want to do it, like, try to keep up with it. Because I know when I'm scrolling through, I do make those comments on people's pages and stuff, not so much to take their audience, but to build a relationship so that I can ask them to be a guest on my show.
Yeah.
So that's like one of the things that I might do. So I'm gonna throw that out there for that.
Yeah.
But I also, like, you don't want to look like a scam where you only have 9 photos possibly or less, or there's no tags. There's different things, like just making sure that you look legit and that your pictures are somewhat up to date. Because if I see pictures posted on your Instagram or whatever, and it's not in this year, then I'm thinking, oh, maybe they're not in business anymore.
Yeah.
So just be aware of those kinds of things. Like, you want to make sure you're using it that it's increasing your business, not hindering it. So whatever way works best for you on that too.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
again, comments and you win. And I accidentally pressed, because I haven't used tip jar before, and I thought I was moving it around, but it recirculated icon. So I'm not sure if that means everybody is starting over, but needless to say, it's filled up really quickly. So keep commenting to make sure you win, because it's 3:30. So that means that we're on the 30-minute mark. And I was like, pull a winner soon. So that's exciting time. So make sure you're getting all your comments in. And if you have any questions, make sure you do that as well. And I do have in the comments, you can see and kind of click on the links, but I did have it kind of scrolling about as well, the different places you can reach us. So make sure you do that. You can reach, at The Real Camille Cower on Instagram, or CamilleCower.com for everything. But let me just make sure I'm not missing anyone else's. And if there was anything that you feel that we didn't cover that you definitely want to make sure people are aware of, you can go ahead and share that right now. I just make sure there's nothing else that I'm missing, because some of these comments are just, to try to win. I don't blame you. It's a great gift. But then some of these are actual questions. So I want to make sure I answer them. And some of them is BeLive answering the questions for me, because they're wanting to know more about BeLive, because it's amazing. And clearly that they're seeing how cool and easy it is for me to use and to ask questions and to be going live and to be moving us back and forth and so on, all at the same time. Clearly, it's very user friendly, because I am not a producer by trade, but I am now. I love doing this. I've loved working with BeLive. And you use BeLive as part of your business as well. What are some of the things that you love about using BeLive while we're on?
Yeah, of course. The easy view, I do find it very easy to use, and like, I'm the same as you. I am not, well, I don't know. I would class myself as not extremely tech savvy. I'm not. I can kind of work stuff out, but I don't want to invest lots of time in trying to kind of work out over complicated platforms and that kind of thing. So it's more for me, just the fact that it was intuitive, and I'm just like, I know what I'm doing. It's kind of easy, and you can kind of figure it out without it taking up hours of brain work.
Right. Like, that's the other part. Like, how much brain wealth are you willing to give up? Because again, your mental health is your wealth, right? So that has to cost for something too. And they covered this a little bit yesterday in some of the lives. So make sure you watch some of the past lives as well, because there was one they were talking about with AI where that can kind of take up some of the spaces. But of course, we're using it for the good, not for the bad. But that can help with the slack if you can't afford to hire someone to do the job yet, or you're not comfortable with Canva, or whatever elements you're not comfortable with. There's always the virtual option. And even BeLive, with being part of a member of BeLive, they have these different Facebook groups that you can become a member of, and you can ask questions and they will answer them, no matter whether it's from technology uses or from social media accounts to use, all of that. And there's people like Ellie, I'm sure as well, that are in that group that, that if they have the time, they'll answer it. So make sure that you check that out as well. Become a member, join us all, become part of the BeLive fam. And the next stream that we're doing today will be at 7:00. I will be doing that one as well. And that will also be with a wonderful coach who's sharing about her specialty. And she's based out of Maryland. And with that stream, because I don't know for sure that you can't enter both contests, but that one you can win 7 months free of a BeLive account. So you definitely want to make sure you watch both and try to win in both. All right. So without any further ado, let's pick a winner. Okay. So the winner is, you'll never guess. Can you see it on my screen? And her comment just happens to fly up. Like, that's, because we have with BeLive, we have Common Assistant on too. So if I'm slacking on bringing up comments, it does it for me automatically. So I look even cooler. But the winner is DD Wright. DD Wright, you're the winner. All right, wonderful. So excited for you. We will be in contact to let you know exactly how you get your winnings, because you get that one-on-one with the mentor. And I moved his thing, Grant Saunders, I do believe. You will get a one-on-one session with him. And is there anything else you want to share with the group before we say goodbye?
I think just going back to what we talked about at the beginning, which is really my kind of main message when I do talk to coaches, is don't be afraid of writing, don't be afraid of copywriting. Don't think that because you couldn't write at school, or you only got, oh, you get an F in English, that suddenly you're not going to be able to write for your business, because you can. And copywriting is a lot based in science, and there's a lot of formulas, there's a lot of kind of psychology behind it that you can learn that can make your words sell in a non-sleazy way. So yeah, I just don't want people to I want people to feel confident when they write, because we live in a digital world. We have virtual businesses. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, we do need to have to write. You are going to have to write, whether you write yourself or whether you outsource in the future. You need to know what good writing looks like, what it reads like, what words are going to help convert into clients. So don't feel overwhelmed by it. And there's lots of ways that you can build your confidence if you do feel a little bit unconfident.
Fantastic. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us today for Be Live's 7th birthday, the amazing 7. So, and I thank you everyone out there for watching. I really, truly appreciate you tuning in to us. Make sure you come back at 7:00 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific time. I don't even want to guess the math on UK time.
Yeah, I'm no, we like
what,
1 in the morning.
Yeah. Too late. Just watch the replay. Sorry, you can't win, but just watch the replay tomorrow when you wake up. But again, congratulations, Dee Dee. And thanks everyone for watching. And make sure you share this with your friends that weren't able to watch it. They won't be able to win, but at least they'll get some great information. And I tell you, that's a win in itself, right? So again, thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you again at 7:00. And thanks again, Ellie, for joining us.
Thank you.